2 Timothy chapter 1. By this time, Paul's in prison, and he's writing to Timothy. He's writing this to encourage him because Timothy is about 17 or 18 years old, and he's out preaching to all these people, and Paul's in prison. And he's trying to give a letter of encouragement. And the part I like most about this is verse number 6. It says, "Wherefore I put thee in remembrance, that thou stir up the gift of God which is in thee, by the putting on of my hands. For God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, and of love, and of a sound mind. Be not thou therefore ashamed of the testimony of our Lord, nor of me his prisoner, but be thou partaker of the afflictions of the gospel according to the power of God." The NLT version says, "This is why I remind you to fan into flames the gift of God that's inside of you." I like that when it says fan to flames, because it's not saying fan to a flame. Fan into flames, to fan into a fire, a forest fire. How many of y'all know that there's a calling on your life? I see quite a few. How many of you know the difficulty of carrying that calling in this society today? God is here. I can feel it. God's here. And if you tap into this, God's gonna mess you up. Alright? Paul's writing to Timothy and saying, I remind you to fan into flames the gift of God. Some of you might be saying, what's the gift? What's my gift? What's my calling? Those that know me, I'm a PK, preacher's kid. And, growing up, I was expected to be a preacher. He's gonna be a preacher. It's my brother. I was expected to be a preacher, not because, I was at a place where I say, I'm gonna be a preacher, because my reputation was actually my dad's too. God called me to preach at the age of 12 years old. And my dad told me, he said, "Tanner, you're gonna be a preacher," not because he's my dad, but because he knew that God's fixed to step into my life. And there's been a lot of trials I've had to fight, a lot of fire I've had to get over, and a lot of things I've had to jump. But, I'm not dead. My calling never faded, it got stronger. And because I went through the trials I had to go through, God lifted me up. You might feel like you're abandoned right now, but I promise you're not. You're just at another level. Who plays Call of Duty? All the guys. Alright? Every time you get to another level, is it going to be easier or harder? What? Harder. In life, apply this to life. You can't expect to go through life on one level because it will never happen. You can't expect to conquer the giants inside of your life. David, if he would have never stepped up and said, I'm to the next level, I'm moving up,
That's right.
he would have never conquered Goliath. Those that don't know what Goliath is, he was a big old 9-foot, ugly, mean giant. He want nothing but to kill the Israelites. But if you plot David's life to yours, David, okay, if you're thinking, you know, God, I've been through all this stuff. I did this wrong. I did that wrong. You know, I really shouldn't have done that. Well, David, he saw Bathsheba bathing naked. Cover your ears. Okay? And when he saw Bathsheba, he said, I have to have her. And he made up this whole plan to kill her husband and killed him just so he could take her as his wife. Okay, if some, you know, I hope none of you has had premeditated murder. But God still said, David is a man after my own heart. He still proclaimed, because the thing that David did was he said, create in me a brand new heart. Man, this ain't you don't end right there. You don't end because, man, you fell down. I have to get you some tissue so you can cry it away. But don't worry about it. Get back up. When society steps up and tries to take over, fan the flame. When your friends turn their back on you, fan the flame. When life pushes you down, fan the flame. That gift, fan the flame. This gift that we have is so much greater than you think. Oh man, I have a gift. What am I supposed to do with it? Give it to someone? It's yours. You can't give it to anyone. I was called to play the guitar way before I even learned how. A lot of you in here are called to be preachers. You're called to be prophets. You're called to be teachers. You're called to be demon chasing. Really, really cool stuff right there.